Hello, welcome to my new YouTube channel, Workshop of All Sorts. I came up with the name, I suppose, because I'm going to be doing quite a variation of different DIY projects that I want to just put on YouTube, and if they're of help to somebody, happy days. Most of what I do, I've learned from YouTube, so I'm not an expert at any particular trade. I do a bit of woodwork, I do a bit of welding, steelwork, fabrication. I've got a couple of really good projects coming up that I think will be of benefit to others. I'm currently working on a pottery studio for my wife. I'm currently building it, and that's what you're going to see next. So you're going to see a full, there's probably going to be 5-6 parts to it. It's just too long to put all in one go. So I'm going to divide it into 4, 5, 6 parts, whatever it takes from very start to finish. I'm currently about 2/3 of the way through the build. It's taken a while, as you can hear, or maybe you might not be able to hear, but it is absolutely lashing rain here. So I live here in Ireland, and we get an awful lot of rain, and we've had an absolutely terrible summer, which has put me back probably in the region of 6 weeks in the build. I should be finished at this stage, but hey ho, that's the way it is. You just got to roll with the punches. So what you're going to see, as I said, is the build next. But then on the channel, what I hope to share is just different projects. I'm currently standing at my MFT table. It's again about 2/3 finished. There's lots to be done on it to get it to the stage I want. I've got a miter saw station over here to my right. You can't see it, but it's on my right here. It's a half-finished project, so I've got loads of half-finished jobs that I just want to get finished. The miter station, I think, will be a really good one to show, because there are quite a different ways of doing things, and every one of I've seen on YouTube is nearly different. So again, hopefully I'll take a bit from all that, create my own, and that'll be just again something for you to maybe take ideas from, or if you see me doing something that helps you out, happy days. As I said, I'm no expert. I've learned, I'd say 60% of YouTube, and then 40% just over years of, I suppose, just working with my dad, who was a very keen woodworker. He wasn't a woodworker per se, but he enjoyed woodwork, and I learned a lot from him in the early days, and then just worked on building sites at different periods in my life, in my earlier working career. I've moved away from all that now. I'm just working in a completely different arena now, but I enjoy what I do. But I love doing this here in my free time. I love getting down here to the workshop and doing some. I'll take you around the workshop later on, as the channel progresses. I'll take you on a bit of a small. It's not hard to tour it. It's literally 30 feet left to right, and it's 45 feet long, the entire shed, but there's 2/3 of it dedicated to storing my camper van, and I do a bit of metalwork and whatever down the far end of the shed, a bit of maintenance on cars and whatever. So don't want to talk too much. This is all about just, I suppose, the introduction to the channel. Forgive me now during these next few videos of the studio build. I haven't done any intros and I haven't done outros. I've kind of put it all together. I'll maybe talk over, so this is the end of episode 1, and then there'll be the start of episode 2. You know, all the professions obviously have intros and outros. I'm not a professional, and probably never will be, but I'll try hard to do it as best I can. I'm filming on an iPhone 11, so I've got no fancy GoPros, no fancy equipment. It's just a cheap mic and the camera, being the iPhone 11, and that's exactly what I filmed the entire build for this studio. So it's been difficult. I suppose I've done it all on my own, and I might mention that during the video at different times. My wife and my 2 girls helped me do some of it, but 90% of it I've done myself, so it takes a wee bit longer as well when you're filming. And so hats off to all those expert YouTubers who have 3-4 different angles of filming at any one time, and hats off to you. So enjoy the next few episodes of the pottery studio build, but please do subscribe to the channel, like and share the videos. and apparently that helps get the video out there. YouTube's algorithm is worked across the likes, the shares, and the comments. So please drop in the comments as well. Any you think anything I've done wrong, please don't be too hard on me. But anything you want to add in, maybe as suggestions, I'll absolutely take advice on board from those that know. And there's loads of experts out there, but anybody that's into the journey and can help me out with a few tips, I'll take that as well. But go easy on me. I'm all new. This is all new to me. I'm not one for in front of the camera. I'm always the guy shying away in the corner. So I'm putting myself out there, I suppose. I'm pushing myself, and hoping that my content will help others, as other YouTubers have helped me to get to all the different skills that I've accumulated up to now. So yeah, enjoy the build, and I'll see you on the other side.
So this is the main base. It's 21 foot 8 by 10 foot 8,
thing is
and
square now.
will leave the internal measurements 21 by 10. So I didn't call that out at the very start. So it's just literally 6 by 2 shuttering. That's what I've used for the shuttering.
They are screwed in just to keep it all square. So once we're ready to pour, I'll take those off just to keep it square. But all in all good. Ready for the big pour. There's just one thing I need to put in, and just somewhere around here I have a bit of conduit to put in for the electric. So I'll show you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to make a wee template where the wall stud is going to be, so that the cable and the trunking will come up through the little template. I'm going to just make an shutter around it, or concrete around it. That'll keep it all in place.
So this is my template here for holding the conduit for the electric cable that'll come into the building. I want to put it into the floor and have it coming up through the stud, so that there's no holes having to be bored in the building after it's cladded and finished. Just think it's a bit odd looking, so I'd rather do it this way. So basically, if you can see here, this here is the current shuttering that I have right round the building. So everything on the inside of this here will be now concrete. So once it's dried, your base goes on next, which is basically going to be 4 by 2 on its edge. So that's 45mm wide. So that'll sit on the base, and then your joists will run in between at 400 centres. So then the stud sits on top, and then will be nailed in to the base right round the perimeter. So your stud is a 4 by 2, so it's literally 4 inches. It's slightly less, 95mm. But so then what I've done is I've got a 28mm hole. It's a 25mm conduit, which is sitting on the inside of the stud slightly, because obviously you can't board in the center, or it's going to be coming into the base or the perimeter of your structure. So I've slightly put it to the inside so that it'll have a clear run up and then just run onto the floor. And I'll show you now when it's installed. It's simple, but it's just a nice way of holding the pipe in place while the concrete's been put in and set.
So that's the template in place there now. So you can see the power will come in here. So I'll basically run a cable along from the right, along the edge. It'll enter this here then, and it'll be armoured cable in piping up to this point here. But this will be the access point into the building. So you can see then there how this works. So as I said, that's your current stud or shuttering here. This will be your base sitting on top of the concrete slab. Then this width here is your 4 by 2 stud. So that'll be just coming up on the inside, up right into the building. And then at this point here of the building, there's going to be like a toilet in this corner here, and then over here from the toilet wall across this corner, there's just going to be like a bench with a sink and a fridge underneath, just so that you can make a cup of tea or coffee or whatever while you're in the studio. And we'll have the electric point then somewhere up on the wall. So that's it, ready for concrete. As I said, I'll take off those braces on the corners just when we're ready to pour, but the next clip you'll see will be hopefully us pouring some concrete.
So I've just done a time lapse on pouring the base. The lorry driver Mark thankfully gave me a hand here to help me spread it, so it made a big difference, and it sped the whole thing up. We done it all in about 25 minutes.
Yes, so the concrete is cured. Basically what I'm doing now is just wetting it down, keeping it moist. I don't want it going off too quick. And also, I just want to give it a rub out. So you've seen what I've done over here so far. That's what I'm just continuing on down now to the end. And I'm just floating it out, taking the ribs off the top. I'm trying to get a smoother surface. So it's just basically rubbing it down. And I'm no concrete expert. But basically I'm rubbing it this way just to get the heights off the concrete. Like so. And you can see the cream then starting to come up to the top of it again. So it's getting nice and soft on the top. So then I just rub it then by tilting the trowel that way and rubbing it to the right. And then obviously when you're going the other way, you just tip it the other way. So it's back and forth, bringing the cream up to the top of the concrete to give us that nice smooth surface. And really all this is when I'm putting the base down on top of this, I'm probably going to have to put in some packers to level up the base, but this just will eliminate and leave it a bit easier to do. So basically, as I said, just rubbing out those heights. Now this will all be covered up, obviously by the base. I'll put down a damp-proof membrane first, then the base on top of it. But as I said, this is just really just to get those heights and hollows out of it. So just rub them across, up and down. Just take it about 3 sections at a time, or sorry, do it in 3 sections. So done my first one now, just, and then rub it back across. And that's basically, I'll just continue that on up now the whole way across to the other side. Okay, so I've just finished cutting the joists, and what I've done now is I've got the long runs for the back and the front together. So I've clamped them together. You can see down here I've used a clamp just to keep them exactly the same lengths, and as you can see here I've marked the 400 centres. I've changed my mind now on, I was going to go with splitting the insulation sheets by 3. That's going to leave too much between each of the runners. So you can see here where I was marking, you're almost at 450, and it was just too much. So what I've done was I went back, so I've got my 400 centres marked. There's one, you can hardly see it, there's the other one there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just get a wee square now and square them across right through to the very end up here. And then this will replicate the back to the front. So all I'll have to do then is line my joists up here at the front with the same line at the back, and then once I have them all nailed, I'll square them off and maybe put a brace in just to make sure that they stay square and through, and then I will start cutting my insulation. But again, this is all just prep work. I can't do any nailing as such as of yet until I get my damp-proof membrane down on the concrete base first, just to keep any moisture from coming up through. I think it's a good thing to do. And then I've got brackets where they're like 90-degree brackets. They'll go in the insides of the front runners, and they'll just literally go down across here I'll bolt them down through the plastic into the floor, just to tie the whole shed down at the front and back, and I'll do the two sides as well, just to be batten braces type scenario, and it should be a good job. Just keep the wind, the fear of the wind, I suppose, lifting it, but that's all the way down the line. So I'll take you through that now. Once I've got these here marked now, the 400 centres, I'll get the membrane down and we'll get nailing. Okay, so as explained, I'm just running these right through now, so I'll know exactly where the middle of each of my joists is going to be as we go across here. And as I said, this will just make sure that they're both in line with front and back. There's a slight discrepancy in my wood there, but it's millimetres opposed to anything too serious. I must say, I haven't used timber in quite a while, and and it's not my supplier, apparently it's across the board. I've been talking to a few joiners, and timber at the minute, it's pretty poor quality. It's very hard to get good, and then obviously it's very hard to get good timber, and we're paying premium price. You'd like to be getting a bit better value for your money, but unfortunately it is what it is. Beggars can't be choosers and all that. So I'll unclamp this now. That's those done right through, and I'll just put this now on the back, and then I will make sure all my measurements are correct, take everything off, put down the membrane and get cracking. So I've worked out my distances in between the joists. I've got them wrote down over here. It's 3180 long, so I'm just going to now start cutting out of this pile. What I'll do is I'll check them as well and make sure that I'm using the best ones I can. Unfortunately, there is going to be a few bows in them, but I'm going to get the best. And as you all know, it's always best to keep the bow up at the top rather than putting the bow down. So I'll make sure that when I'm picking them and dropping them into their spaces, any bows that in it, that it's at the top. So I'll just have a quick look down these here now. That's pretty good, that one. So basically what I'm doing here first is I'm squaring off the edge, the ends, so you can see that there's a pretty bad crack in that one. So what I'll do is I'll just chop that off here now, and what I'm using is a square to guide the circular saw across, so you have a nice straight cut. So I'm just going to now so that's that, and then I'm going to measure, spin this around, and then measure down, double check my measurement again, yeah, 3180, measure twice, cut once and all that. So we're sitting over here, 3180 is here, mark that. And when I've one cut, I'll use that then as a template for cutting the rest of them, so they'll all be the same size. So just right over there, use my saw, get my and then I'll use these here for all the noggins in between. When I get to that stage where I have them all in place, I'll just cut these into the widths of the noggin, so I'll just leave them stacked to one side here. So get it go again. Just mark that there. So that there's a bow up on this, so I need that at the top. So I'll just mark it with an arrow pointing up, so that was when I'm putting them down, then I know to point it up. So again, just repeat the process again. Cut off and square off the end, just take just the bare minimum off that you need. Spin it round. You could walk back down to the other side of the pile, but I'm just going to be lazy and spin them around here. And then what I'll do is, this is the one I've cut before, so this is the correct length. So I'll just get this down, get it on top of this, make sure that I'm on my line nice and even down here. And it is just important to make sure that it hasn't moved on this side here, that it's nice and flush. And then I just mark that and cut her off. Now, it's really important that you use the same template for every cut, because if you don't, for anybody that doesn't know, if you use that one in the pile and then use this one as the template, let's say if it only went a couple of millimeters out every time, it'd end up at the end, you could be 10, 15 mil out, depends, at the very end. So it just makes sense to use the same template so you're getting the exact same measurement every time. So enough waffling, and get my cut through here now again on the line, and there we go. And again, that's used for noggins. And what I'll do now is I'll start to stack these. I'm not going to put them on the slab, because as I was saying at the start, I'm going to put a damp-proof membrane down before I do any of the timbers. So what I'll do is I'll just stack them out here, so I'll know these. So we're ready to put the PVC down now, and just want to give it a quick, I gave it a brush yesterday, but I just want to take the rough of the edges. There's a few bits and pieces here, just needs to come off. So this damp-proof membrane, it is 1200 gauge, I think. So, and unfortunately, it comes in a 100-meter roll, which is way more than what I need, but I'll use what's left to cover the stack of timber. So we'll just get this rolled off here, get the Stanley knife, and just give it a cut through here. And I'm cutting it a bit longer than what it is required, and that's just so that I can fold up the overlap on the base. So what I'm just going to do is throw this out of the way. Would be a bit easier if there's another pair of hands, but we'll manage. So what I'll do is, once I get this spread out, I'll get the back timber and put it sitting in place, just roughly, just more or less keep this down. And get it out of there, and then we get the other fold, and we pull that out to the front. So we've got a good lap there, and then obviously we've got this pipe where the cable's coming up, so I'm just going to give it a wee nick and push it down over that. That's pretty much it. Just give it a little stretch. We'll get the front one now up into place. I can trim that back a bit if need be, but I'll be able to work out where it should be roughly. And the same up here. And that's pretty much it there. And this doesn't have to be perfect because it's literally just a damp proof membrane. Okay, that ain't bad. Maybe just pull it back down this way a little. Take as much of that out of it as we can. So then we're ready for putting in a few joists. And really what I'm putting these in for, well, obviously I'm going to be putting them in anyway, but it's just to hold the plastic in place. I'm not going to get it all done. It's now 5 o'clock in the evening. So this is my DeWalt nail gun that I'm going to be using. It's 18 volt XR. It can take 95mm nails, which is what I'm using on this. It's the angled nailer. I'll take you through it more. It's a DCN 692 and it's used these nails here, so really good gun. I bought it 3-4 years ago now for doing a job in the workshop, and it worked out really well for me, and I've used it for putting up fence and stuff around the house. So yeah, really good tool, brilliant. Very expensive, I suppose, but I knew I'd get good use out of it over the period of time. I kind of knew this was coming down the line as well, so it made the choice a bit easier. So again, stop chatting and I'll get it into position and just carry down a timber here. So I want a really good straight timber because this is going to also carry the wall, so don't want any bumps or humps in it, and that's probably not the best one. So we'll use that maybe inside here somewhere and go and get a better one. That's a pretty good one there. So that's the top. push this into place. That is pretty good there in terms of distance. Just want to make sure that these are as close to that square proper, but just want to make sure they're pretty good. So that's pretty good there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop a nail in at the bottom, making sure it's nice and plumb. Okay, and then up at the top. It's very important. I'll take you through when I get the camera a bit closer, but don't hold your hand here because these nails are 95mm long. It's really important you hold your hand back, get it sort of lined up here, hold your hand back, put in your nail, and I'm going to put 3 nails in each of these. And I'm going to get this now pretty much into where it needs to be. The same with the back. So that's pretty flush there. So we're going to get this. Push in the middle. It's nice and flush, flush, flush. So I'm just going to start here now, or sorry, come back to this side here. There's a slight twist in this timber here. Yeah, again, just go to the back. So I'm just going to get the rest of these timbers now and put them out into their place.
So we're going to end this first episode here. The video's getting a bit long at 32 minutes. Next week we will be finishing off the base, and we will be doing the insulation, putting down the main floor. Please like, share, leave a comment, and see you in the next one.